fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in the Green Mountain state of Vermont for the don'ts of visiting Vermont. And I'm going to start with this one because it's very important to the locals that those of us that come here for leaf peeping know this. Don't stop in the middle of the road to take pictures of the beautiful leaves changing. Also, don't drive slowly down the back roads because that's their only way to get home. Look, if you want to make the Vermonters happy, because they're happy for you to come enjoy the leaf peeping here, because it's gorgeous, but please pull over to the side of the road, go to one of the turnoffs and take in the beauty of the leaves changing instead of driving the locals insane by driving really slow or causing accidents by stopping in the middle of the road to take a picture. So that's one thing that my local friends really wanted me to put across to you in the very first don't of coming here. Now, another don't I have for you is if you're a tourist, you're going to drive around, not just for leaf peeping, but you're going to come here for skiing in Stowe, or you're going to go to Lake Champlain and go around there, you're going to do biking here, the hiking. Another thing you need to realize is don't expect to have a cell signal all the time. And I'm not just talking, oh, the super fast stuff so I can live stream my skiing or live stream the beauty that's here. No, like honestly, like some places with the green mountains, the valleys, and all these things, you don't always get a signal. So if you're going to be driving around, download the directions onto your phone or onto your GPS before you go so you have it there just in case, because it can be one of those things that can be disconcerting, especially if you're driving in the evening time, because there's not a lot of highways when you're going through Vermont. You're on a lot of back roads and a lot of dirt roads, and it can be a bit scary if you don't have your GPS working. So just have a heads up that cell service doesn't always happen. And the thing is, I know a lot of people when they drive around, they're thinking, well, if I get lost or I can't find there'll be some chain restaurant I know and I'll be fine when I'm there. And I gotta tell you right now, don't expect to find any chain restaurants or chain anything when you're here in Vermont. Vermont loves Vermont stuff. So if you're looking at bed and breakfast, I mean, it's all about local stuff here. Yes, you can find a Hampton Inn here and there. I'm not going to say they don't exist. But the thing is Vermont is about Vermont, and it is not about chain stuff. So don't expect to see too many chain spots when you are here. Because honestly, farm to table isn't something special here. Farm to table is actually a normal way to eat here in Vermont. Now, when people think of Vermont, a lot of times they think of Stowe and they think of the skiing in the winter, and it's gorgeous. And don't pass up on coming to ski here in Vermont in the winter, because honestly, it's fantastic. But with those ski slopes, I now have another don't for you. Don't skip out on visiting the ski slope areas outside of winter, because whether you want to do biking, hiking, wandering, you want to do, exploring, I mean, it's so beautiful here. If you're just going for a drive around where the ski slopes are, you're going to really enjoy it when you're here, because honestly, it's gorgeous just driving through Vermont and stopping at the general store to pick something up or a local brewery. I mean, it's just one of the things you're going to love to do. And that's why if you come here in the summertime, ski places are still fantastic to visit because they have all the accoutrement you need, just not the snow in the summer. And when you're going to those general stores around here, I gotta tell you, don't forget to pick up 100% pure Vermont maple syrup. I mean, maple syrup is more than a thing here. It's like a religion. Like, you will see it. If you get a Creemee, it'll be a maple Creemee. If you get candies, you'll see maple stuff there. I mean, God, if you go to any of these diners or restaurants for breakfast, their pancakes, the fantastic, maple syrup on it, it's wonderful. And the thing is, if you come here and you're trying to think of some kind of souvenirs to take home with you or gifts to take back to your friends at home, one of the two things I always recommend is the maple syrup. Make sure 100% pure Vermont maple syrup, because it is so good. And if you open it, remember, once you open it, you got to refrigerate it, okay? So don't just try a little bit of it while you're here, then take it home. Just save it until you get home and then use it there and put it in your fridge, okay? Now, my second souvenir that you should definitely take home with you for your friends or maybe just for yourself is don't forget to buy some Vermont beer. I'm not kidding. Vermont has some of the best beer in the nation. When the new beers come out, people come from all over the Northeast, heck, all over the country to come get those Vermont beers. Like, I'm stocking up on maple syrup and beer to take home with me because we drove here this time. Yes! So you can have that. But honestly, you're going to see local breweries throughout the state. So wherever you go, if it's a restaurant, they probably have their own brewery, or somebody that works there's brother or cousin or friend owns a brewery and they're supplying it. So you're going to have the local breweries when you're here, because my goodness, they are fantastic. Now, I know I've talked about the nature that's here, okay? But what you have to realize is, don't think it's just nature. Don't forget to visit the beautiful towns and historic sites throughout the state. I mean, there's a lot of great places you can visit if you're just driving through the main streets of some of the smaller towns around Vermont. And honestly, most of the towns here are small towns, but they're so quaint, so beautiful. If you're just checking out the local churches there, or the local museum, it's fantastic. But the thing is, there's so many farms around here. You can see beautiful farms. Shelburne Farms, you're like, wow, farmers did pretty well here in Vermont. Yeah, they did. Or you go to the Shelburne Museum, and they have buildings. It's an open air museum. You can see historic buildings that are there. That's fantastic. The author, Robert Frost, yeah, you can see his farm here. Calvin Coolidge, our old president, his homestead is here. You can visit. But probably the one thing that people love is actually the covered bridges here in Vermont, because you're going to see all these beautiful side roads with a covered bridge here and there. I mean, if this isn't the state with the most covered bridges per square mile, it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 of the country, okay? So when you see a covered bridge, get that picture, go and see it. Even if it's just a brown bridge, it's a really wonderful thing. Now, when you are going around Vermont, I do have to tell you this one thing. Don't expect a lot of interaction with the local Vermonters, because they're not big into the interacting kind of thing with the tourists. I mean, if you notice the sign behind me has a no trespassing sign, I'm not going down there. I'm respecting their space because that's their property. And the thing is here in Vermont, one, you don't have a lot of people. I mean, this is one of the most sparsely populated states in the entire U.S. I mean, there's cities in the U.S. that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times the population of just this state. So you don't run into a lot of people anyway. And another thing is we're here in New England, and you do have the New England Shield, which if you ever come to New England, you'll notice that the locals don't always kind of interact a lot with the tourists or people that aren't from the area. It's just kind of like a protective shield they put out there. Now, if you break through the shield or get the shield off there, they'll be very friendly and show you around. But just know, you're not going to get that over-the-top friendliness here in Vermont. You're going to get very much of a, what do you need? What do you want? Let's get it to business, you know, whether it's in service or restaurants or stores. Just be aware of that. And I gotta say though, if you do have any issues though, the people will help you. It's not like they ignore you and don't help you. They will definitely help you. If you have any car trouble, a flat tire, you're lost, don't think a local won't help you that way, because they will, but just don't expect them to be going out of their way to be super friendly to you when you are here. Couple don'ts for there, because honestly, Burlington's fantastic. The pedestrian street there, the restaurants, Ben & Jerry's, yes, you gotta go there and have that. But if you're gonna be in Burlington, I got 2 don'ts for you. One, don't forget to get reservations to go out to eat in Burlington, because they do book up, because that is a very popular place for people to go eat and enjoy some of the fantastic local food here. So that's one thing. The second don't I have for you in Burlington is, don't pass up getting a bike and riding the bike path and the trails and going to Lake Champlain and just enjoying all around there, because there's some really great trails right there that even fat guys like me can do no problem, because it's really good for families to do as well. So that's some stuff there. Now, when you're going through Vermont, if you look on a map, you'll notice that our neighbor to the north is just right over there. Like, you can get to Canada very easily. So what I want to tell you is, don't forget to bring your passport when you come to Vermont, because going across the border is very simple here. You can go over and go shopping, go eating in Canada. Oh my God, they got so many great things you can have when you're there. You can go enjoy that Quebecois cuisine. Yes, you will love it. And yes, it's more than maple syrup, because they got that here. There's so many good things you can do just across the border. And it's a very easy, going across the border versus other places in the US. So I just want to have you have a heads up for that. And I got to tell you this, don't worry if you don't cross the border, because you can still get poutine here, or gravy fries when you are here. If you're not sure what poutine is, that is the best food from Canada, and Vermont has accepted it wholeheartedly. And what it is, it's French fries with cheese curds and then gravy on top. Oh, it's fantastic. If you're gonna have some of those fantastic Vermont beers, have some poutine with it. And I gotta tell you though, if you're here, like I'm in the southern part of the state, you don't see as much poutine in the south as you do in the north. It kind of gets more and more as you get the farther north in Vermont. But honestly, you gotta have the poutine when you're here too. Now, if you want some of the wonderful local food or local cuisine or local anything when you're here, don't pass up a farmer's market in Vermont. I mean, they know how to do the farmer's markets here. I mean, I understand my friends from Vermont, when they come visit us in Illinois, they're like, oh, that's your farmer's market. How quaint. Yeah, no, here they do it right. And my friend Rusty really put it perfectly. He said, look, the farmers market in Vermont are a lovely combination of practical local stuff and whimsical local stuff. And if that doesn't sum up a Vermont farmers market, I don't know what will, because it really is, from getting the local cheeses and beers and venison and food to crazy arty stuff that someone made. I mean, dude, they got it all, but it's such a fun thing to do. So please hit up the farmers markets here in Vermont, because it's just a fun time. Now, I do have to mention some safety things when you are here for one of my don'ts, and one is don't mess with the snow or the moose or the bears when you're here in Vermont. Because yes, you will see, beware, watch out for moose signs and watch out for bear signs, because there are moose here. And if you think a deer does some damage to your car, you have no idea what a moose does, okay? And occasionally there are bears here too. So, be careful if you're gonna be camping. Make sure you're sealing your stuff up. But I think for travelers, when you're coming here, especially in the wintertime, you gotta be careful with the snow, okay? Because you have a lot of dirt roads that are here, and you have a lot of winding roads, and with the snow, and it can be ice. You do want to be really careful with that. And if you're coming in the springtime when it's mud season, yeah, you got to be ready for mud season when it's the end of winter, beginning of spring, because going on these dirt roads, it can be a bit dangerous if you're not used to it. So don't mess around on them. Look, I'm not kidding. It is gorgeous here to drive around. These covered bridges are all over, and it's a wonderful place to drive, but not just to drive. It's also a wonderful place to ride your motorcycle and ride your bike, okay? But I want to tell you is, don't forget to watch out for the motorcyclists and the bicyclists when you are here in Vermont, because people love to be on their bikes. It's not just in Burlington, it's all over the state, and you're gonna see that. So don't close your eyes. Open your eyes and look for those bikers, and don't just look for the beautiful covered bridges, okay? It becomes a safety thing. And I know I kind of alluded to this before when I talked about the winter driving, but also don't get crazy if you come here during mud season when you're driving. Because of all the dirt roads that are here, when you have that snow melt and you have the rain in the spring, that end of winter, beginning of springtime, you can have a lot of mud, and it can be very slippery on the roads, and so it can be kind of dangerous. So don't get crazy if you're going to be driving here during mud season, okay? But I do recommend not coming during mud season. Come during the spring, this summer, the winter to enjoy the skiing. But yeah, mud season, maybe not. Now, another thing I think I should mention when you're driving around Vermont is don't expect to see any billboards announcing what's coming up or what you can get in the next town, because billboards, they're not a thing here in Vermont. You don't see them because they don't have them. So that's why it's important, like I said, make sure you put your map in there, because all you'll see is that little sign saying, oh, Stowe, 25 miles, or Brattleboro, 5 miles. Like, you'll see that, but you won't see the big sign saying, oh, the world's biggest maple syrup producer right here. No, they don't do that here, okay? So just be aware of it. And another thing I don't think you should look for when you're here is don't expect to do any late night shopping. And I don't mean late night like 24 hours. I mean late night like 8 o'clock at night shopping, because since you have a lot of small towns, a lot of the stores do close earlier. So that general store where you're going to get a lot of things at might close a bit earlier. So if you're going around during the day, pick up what you need while you're kind of going around instead of waiting for evening shopping. And when you are going around, don't forget to grab a Creemee. You know what a Creemee is? Oh, if you're not sure what a Creemee is, it's a soft serve ice cream. And here, if you get a maple Creemee, yeah, they make it with maple syrup, of course. Those are fantastic. And the locals, everybody has their favorite Creemee. Okay, so please, down in the comments, if you're from Vermont, tell people your favorite Creemee, like where they should go to get them, just to help out us tourists so we can find the best one out there, because it's one of the things you have to have when you're here. And we actually talk about a lot of the foods that you should eat when you're here in Vermont on our Wolters World Eats channel, where we have what to eat when you're in Vermont. So that'll help you out knowing some other things aside from the Creemees, because I do believe that's actually the first thing on the list of what to eat when you're here. Another thing I think you should know is when you do come here, don't be surprised if you see a lot of hippies when you are here. Vermont is a very liberal state. It's a very fun state. It's a very open-minded state, so you'll have a lot of very open-minded people when you're here, and so do be aware of that when you're here. So, sometimes you might feel that the color of the flag of Vermont should be tie-dyed sometimes, because all the hippies you'll meet either at a flea market or some of the places. It's fantastically fun fun. So you have a lot of artists that are here, but just be aware, you might see a hippie or 12 when you are here. So if you're gonna be here in Vermont in the summer and the early fall, don't forget to go to some of the flea markets or the antique markets that are here. You will see plenty of antique shops. Even if you don't buy anything, they're still fun to go in because some of the things are truly antiques and some of them are quite eccentric, let's say, and it is quite fun to go to. So if you see that flea market on the weekends, pull over, go walk around, bring some cash, buy some crazy stuff, and have some fun. I know we've gotten some interesting toys, decorations, and glasses while we've been here. So do that, because honestly, the flea markets and antique markets, they're pretty fun here in Vermont. Now, would I be a travel channel if I didn't mention monsters? I mean, honestly, what kind of travel channel doesn't talk about monsters? And I think there's two monsters you need to know about when you're going to come to Vermont. And I'm going to tell you, don't think that both monsters are worth worrying about. One monster you need to worry about when you come here are the mosquitoes. I mean, the mosquitoes can be really bad in the spring and summer here in Vermont with all the lakes, so do be aware of that. So have your bug sprays and stuff. You want to be protected from that because, yeah, it's not fun getting all those bites, okay? But the other thing you don't have to worry about is if you're on Lake Champlain, don't worry about Champ the lake monster. He is totally fine, won't cause you any problems, okay? You don't know Champ? Well, you know Nessie, the Loch Ness monster? Well, here at Lake Champlain, they got Champ the lake monster. So if you see him, make sure you take a video and shake your camera around a lot so they can use it on some of the travel channels out there for one of their shows, all right? But honestly, Lake Champlain is gorgeous. If you can go on it, do have a wonderful time. The bike paths there, like I talked about before, but don't forget to look out for Champ, but don't be surprised if you don't see him because he is quite camera shy. And whether you're driving through Green Mountain National Forest, you're going to Stowe, you're going to Lake Champlain, you're gonna be across the border into Canada, one thing I gotta tell you is when you come here to Vermont, don't think that miles to destination equals minutes to destination. Because you know, some places you go, oh, it's 60 miles, I'll be there in 60 minutes in 1 hour, no problem. No. Here, oh, it's 30 miles? That's not 30 minutes. That might take you an hour because of the winding roads, because of the small towns you go through. These are things you really need to know about when you come here so you can better judge when you're going to show up to your B&B, when you're going to get to that restaurant, when you do make those reservations in Burlington. So just be aware of that because honestly, Vermont is gorgeous. You're going to love it when you're here, but I hope you got these do's and don'ts down so you can have a great time. And I'll say bye from here in Vermont.